Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, April 18th, 2024. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. A lot of Dan this week, not as much Dave as he is ill, believe me. Not by choice. Got a great show for you today. I'm going to talk all sorts of recruiting with Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. Got the Elite 11 here in Upper Arlington next to the university this weekend. Got some other great stuff to talk about. Ohio State is invading Georgia, and we will go deep on that. But first, call them what you want, but our friends at Manscaped refer to them as the boys. Not every man has children, but every man is responsible for their two boys below the waist. When your little guys have more than they need, trust Manscaped for all your grooming dreams. Boys need love too, so join the 10 million men who trust Manscaped by going manscaped.com and use the code BUCKNUTS for 20% off and free shipping. You heard it here excuse you. You heard it here first. The boys are back in town. They have 3 new trimmers introducing the Lawnmower family, including the Lawnmower 3.0 Plus, the 4.0 Pro, and the 5.0 Ultra. Taking it on the go, Manscaped has you covered. These trimmers come with a travel case and even a travel lock feature to avoid any accidental powering and or weird looks in the airport. Once again, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code BUCKNUTS at manscaped.com for the best your boys have ever looked. Trust Manscaped. All right, talking about 2 good-looking boys. Look at these guys. The Dean, Bill Kurelic, the Grand Poobah, Mark Porter here. We are here a lot, apparently. Bill and I are here every day, it looks like. But we will get into it. One thing we've noticed, this wonderful development, at least in my opinion, Nick Saban has left Alabama. Georgia is still producing a ton of recruits, and it looks like Ohio State is trying to take advantage. Bill, it was a big visit weekend. There were at least four big-time Georgians here. Not a place Ohio State used to go head up with Georgia. And by that I mean, yes, we have gotten some tremendous Georgians on the team before, but they weren't necessarily the guys targeted by in-state power Georgia. Alabama was the team that went head up against Georgia. Now it looks to be Ohio State. I gave you some names I wanted to talk about before the show. Mark is in tune with this. Let's start with Anthony Davis, and then you can kind of introduce each guy as we go here.
Yeah, Anthony Davis is a 6'2", 200-pound linebacker from Loganville, Georgia, Grayson High School, a high school that produces, generally speaking, talent, prep football talent. He's about 6'2", 200 pounds, and he made a Friday-Saturday visit. In fact, I have a story on our front page this morning about Anthony Davis. He made a Friday-Saturday visit to Ohio State. Did not take long until he got an offer, scholarship offer from the Buckeyes. He was one of several guys that Ohio State offered a scholarship this past weekend, and he was the first one, I believe, of the group to post that he had been offered by the Buckeyes. And he is definitely interested. He is going to come back in the summertime to Ohio State, and he is certainly an outstanding linebacker prospect. And I think Mark, if I am not mistaken, has some video of him.
You are correct, Bill. I happened to be at a practice at Ohio State this week, and Eli Lee was there, and there was someone standing next to Eli Lee I didn't know. And after, a little bit of time, I figured out it was Anthony Davis. And I'm watching his film now. He is a stringy, athletic guy. Like, I almost thought he looked like a safety a little bit when I saw him in person. And when I'm watching his film now, I see that safety-like explosion. And they're playing him at linebacker, but the explosion, that little burst there you saw to the ball, that closing speed, that's safety-like at linebacker. That's unusually fast for that position. Didn't think he looked skinny where he couldn't put on weight to be a 220-pound linebacker, but he was a tall, gangly, and you could see it there, his body on film, the longer arms, maybe a little skinnier. So he's a player that has some filling out to do, but talk about an athletic linebacker. You know, it seems like the last couple of linebackers we've watched have been will linebackers. You know, Eli Lee being the inside plugger, the C gap, the guard smasher, so to speak. These other guys we've watched are some guys that can run around in space and maybe be Sams or Wills. But that's what you're seeing on film here. Explosive, just a great athlete.
I believe the term is short area quickness. He's 0 to 60 immediately. I mean, very impressive. And again, I will say this about each guy we talk about. The quality of football in Georgia is about as good as it gets. Who's up next, Bill?
Well, my kind of favorite guy, I guess you'd say, from the Georgia guys that were at Ohio State this past weekend is Bryce Wright. He is a defensive lineman, and we like his school, Buford High School. You don't get a lot better as far as producing prep talent than Buford High School. And Ohio State has a great one that is now on campus in Edric Houston. But Bryce Wright is not your 6'4", 6'5" defensive lineman. He is a 6'2", 245-pound defensive lineman that they favorably know or call him around Buford ways as the Freak. And as you'll see him lined up there, you can see why he is an impact guy. And I'll let Mark go from there.
Hold on a sec, Mark. Keep in mind, Buford is a factory. This is a guy doing this against the best. If you're being called a freak at Buford, that's like freak cubed. Seth McLaughlin, also a Buford guy. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, this looks like a tight end body or a linebacker body at 240 pounds with the get off he has there. But boy, I mean, this is a speed quickness guy coming out of a stance. I've seen him blow through the shoulder of the last 3 or 4 guys he's went through. So he's using speed, a quickness. I mean, he's running through the shoulder like the guy's not even there. So
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, like
he's like a running back that doesn't see the first defender. He just goes by him every time.
I mean, if this kid was playing running back, it wouldn't shock me. That's the type of like short area quickness he's shown with his feet. You can see the pop of his feet before he's on his way by guys. Has some nice pass rush moves. Seems to be able to give guys a little head shake and some hand movement there. He just threw another guy off with that, push pull kind of move there.
That was our left tackle.
Yeah, obviously he's going to have to add a little more weight at defensive tackle, but the underlying athlete is already there, which you're buying a 3 technique is more what you would get here than a nose man. He could line up probably at the 5 technique and play that heavier defensive end set if you needed to. Pass rushing defensive linemen are usually the hardest to find, a la what we're looking at right there, someone who could get after the passer from the inside. Guards might be a total mismatch for him with quickness.
Bill, do you know how they see him positionally?
Yeah, they're looking 3-5 technique, that type of thing. And one other important thing to note here is that the guy we talked about on Tuesday, our last podcast together, Jakeem Stewart, #1 player in the country for the class of 2026. Well, Jakeem Stewart and Bryce Wright are friends and pretty good friends. They've known each other for a while. They have discussed. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Don't do it, Bill.
I don't believe in the package deal stuff. Anybody who listens to me knows. But they have discussed possibly going to the same school, and a school that the 2 of them are absolutely very interested in is the Ohio State University. How would you like to have Jakeem Stewart and Bryce Wright in your 2026 recruiting class, Buckeye fans? But they have discussed.
That would send legitimate, like, seismic shock waves through the school located in Athens, Georgia, because I have to think Stewart is a top of the board guy for everybody that's recruiting him. I'm not sure we've seen a more imposing recruit. And he just finished his sophomore year, Bill. Good Lord. He's the one of those guys that just finished his sophomore year and you're like, you want to come now? And just kind of hang out for a little bit. And then he could probably get on the field by the second half of next season if you get him in the weight room, get some calories.
That has been mentioned. We talked about that last time. It's been brought up that perhaps Jakeem Stewart reclassifies. That's not confirmed or anything else, but that's it's been mentioned.
I just want to watch his video to start each week to get more
Right
views.
now, we can't do it. And then you hear me sometimes when you put the video up there. Sometimes it's the first time I'll see the guy, and I'll be like, "Whoa, Jakeem Stewart sounded like I was riding a roller coaster." You know, and I was like, "Whoa, oh!" It's really awesome. All right, Bill, give us some more Georgians.
Well, we had a kid that I had a story on our site about last night, Dorian Barney. He is a cornerback, class of 2026 again, from Peachtree Ridge High School in Sewanee, Georgia, country's number 3 cornerback. Ohio State has a habit of collecting those top cornerbacks in their 2025 class. They've got numbers 1 and 2 in Devin Sanchez at number 1 and Naeem Offord at number 2. And they also have a top 10 guy to go with him, Blake Woodby. But Dorian Barney is a little bit along the lines of Devin Sanchez, and he's a long kid. He's about 6'1", at least 170. And by the way, if you looked at the pictures of Devin Sanchez and Blake Woodby, and then you had Naeem Offord in a picture together. Naeem Offord is listed at 6'1". If you look at that picture, Devin Sanchez is clearly taller than Naeem Offord. Devin, I think I would not go out on a limb and say he is a legitimate 6'2". But anyway, Dorian Barney, he is one of the top in the country, and he is talking about getting back to Ohio State. In fact, he says he will get back to Ohio State.
Is that who's up here now, Mark?
Yep.
The president of the Sanchez's checks in on Dorian Barney. Intangibles, solid. Barney, nice kid. By the way, we have done well at that high school before. Bill, do you know the NFL corner via Ohio State who went to Peachtree Ridge in Sewanee, Georgia? He was once committed to Vanderbilt.
Oh, gosh. I can picture the kid, and I can't think of go ahead.
He may have a file on record in Bloomington, Indiana, and his name is Bradley Roby. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Brad had a night in Bloomington, if you remember. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. First play here, they start off with run support because that's what you want to see in run support. There, the way he chopped that guy down. But what I like
Dorian Barney, by the way. Hate to interrupt, but go ahead.
That's okay. We're going to see some man-to-man coverage here. And if you listen to me, we don't see a lot of players playing man or even press man-to-man, which you're going to see, or off man-to-man here. The next play is press, which in high school you don't see a lot of that because a lot of kids can't handle it. But he does have a short area quickness. He does have a little burst to the ball, a little spring coming out of his breaks. Here's the press man-to-man clip. You got to have pure speed to do this, and he jams the guy right down the field.
They tried to get him on the out and up there.
Yeah, with the long arms, you got to get up in people's face and use them. Even down there, he's using them. See, he's not afraid to body rock you and put his shoulder in there again. That's in the Big Ten. I think that's a must with the running game, and especially as it gets colder into the season, you want guys that are physical. So far, all the film here, you're getting the check marks you want to check with the quickness, the size, the hitting ability, the coverage ability. I'm still watching. I'm waiting for like a high point play or something. But, geez, to keep picking from the top of the tree like this with these corner bodies and the speed, great job, Coach Walton.
No, right on. All right, Bill, finish it off.
Okay, we got one more. Deuce Gerald. A little bit along the same lines as Bryce Perry Wright in that Deuce Gerald is also a defensive lineman, about 6'2", 240. And if you remember just a few minutes ago, I said that was pretty close to the same measurements as Bryce Perry Wright, 6'2", 245. So Deuce Gerald, 6'2", 240, a little bit along the same lines. He is also from Sewanee, Georgia, but he is from Collins Hill High School. And he has had an Ohio State offer for quite some time. He is not ranked yet, but he is going to be ranked. He can play. He is very interested in Ohio State. He has been to Ohio State, I think, 3 times now, if I remember correctly, and will be back. And he's a guy that we talked about what position that Bryce Perry Wright would play, 3-5. Well, Ohio State has told him, Larry Johnson has told Deuce Geralds, we're going to keep it open. We don't know yet. Or you can play a lot of different positions, and if you become a Buckeye, we'll figure it out when you get here.
I remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like watching two guys of similar size kind of back to back because it's a apples to apples as much as you can get in the recruiting world. And you see these two guys, the similarities are the quickness, the get off, the explosion. And just like we said, it's almost a duplicate evaluation. You could see him at 3 technique being a pass rusher. You could see him at 5 technique. There may be even a little more juice with this kid, maybe to stay at defensive end. We joked with the last guy. Doesn't the last guy we say could probably play running back?
Yeah.
Well, here's that body at running back, which that's pretty impressive to watch him stumble down the field. So he is very athletic with some suddenness to him there. And
that's the same play, by the way.
Is it? Yeah, from a different angle. Yeah, I get a lot of that.
Nice try.
That's pretty impressive. If I was a defensive lineman catching balls at running back, I'd put the thing on from 4 angles. I wouldn't care. But that gives you an idea of the type of athlete you need to be to play at Ohio State and make a difference and beat guys. But this is a get-off, first step type guy here who's going to beat. I mean, that tackle, not that he's the most quality tackle ever, but he just got posterized in a big way for the Bucknuts audience. This is a kid that you'd like to slant and angle and just set him free, and just, put that hand in the dirt and go. But yeah, exceptional. Both of these guys are exceptional athletes, both sides of the ball.
Once again, thank you, Nick Saban.
I'm gonna make Georgia my fall home, so I can just go to games down there to watch all the Ohio State guys down there that Ohio State's recruiting.
We said this in jest. I don't know if you guys heard this. I can't remember when he said it, but it was after us. Urban Meyer said on television, you could just set up camp in Gwinnett County and pull out an All-American team every single year right now. That's how good it is.
By the way,
go ahead.
But I was going to say, by the way, how good is Urban Meyer on these was that a good telecast for the Ohio State spring game? He is absolutely in his element doing that stuff.
Listen, Urban takes a lot of junk. He will never take it from this guy. I love me some Urban Meyer. The
brutal honesty, his brutal honesty is always appreciated. And it's always so candid that, I think you can relate to that. And I think in people's hearts, they want that said to their players, and they want that type of critical analysis. And he's tough. He really, you could tell his bar is up there.
Well, you never have to worry that you want to win or you're more into it than Urban, right? There have been 2 coaches I've rooted for in my lifetime, Urban being one and Jimmy Johnson of the Cowboys was the other, where you literally just need to sit back and ride the mania. You know what I'm saying? Like John Gruden, I don't know if you guys know this. I say this all the time when this comes up. Without an alarm clock, wakes up every day at 3:17, okay, and goes to work. And I was watching maybe like a documentary on that, and my wife was like, look, I don't want my sons to wake up at 3:17, but if I'm paying my football coach all this money to win all these games and to leave no stone unturned, he can get up at 3:17 every day for me. I wouldn't mind that. I miss the herb. Love Ryan Day. Will always miss the herb. Good call by Bill. All right, I'm going to read an ad here, and then we will talk about Devin Sanchez shutting it down. Mark, why don't you if you can pull up some Devin highlights just for the people to enjoy. Maybe even the one you did would be great. All right. Nothing about your nether regions. Nothing says summer like the taste of a juicy, tender burger grilled to perfection. And nobody does burger perfection like Omaha Steaks. Right now, when you go to omahasteaks.com, you can order the limited time burger perfection flight. Perfectly timed as it's actually getting nice here in Ohio and Dayton. We're about to get our 3-week spring. We get it every year. You'll get 24 of their mouth-watering steak burgers, 4 each of their pure ground filet mignon burgers, New York strip burgers, ribeye burgers, brisket burgers, sirloin burgers, and they're all new porterhouse burgers. Not even just for us. That's just coincidence and great. All for just $89.99 when you use my code BUCKNUTS at checkout. Each 6-ounce burger is filled with flavor, From the mild and tender filet mignon to the rich and buttery ribeye, the quality and deliciousness of these burgers could only come from Omaha Steaks and are guaranteed to satisfy. Go to omahasteaks.com and order the Burger Perfection Flight today, and don't forget to use promo code Bucknuts at checkout to unlock this exclusive deal. That's 24 delicious steak burgers for just $89.99. Go to omahasteaks.com and use code Bucknuts at checkout. Hurry, because supplies are limited. 90 divided by 24. I'm no mathematician. Cheaper than McDonald's. We're not going into a digression about that. All right. The first family of the BM5, the Sanchez's, were in Columbus this weekend. That's why we were able to determine officially that the 6'2" height is official. It's not a Bigfoot listing. And Devin got a chance to hang with many of the others. He also officially shut down his recruitment. That's where we are now. Texas A&M, and Oregon were still trying to horn in on us, and that did not end up working out. So we thought we'd take a chance to look back and then look ahead at what you'll be getting in the number one corner in the United States.
Sanchez from North Shore in Houston, Texas.
That volume
down on that.
And I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
There you go. This is a prototype video from a prototype player.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, this is fun to watch. I'm glad Dan's letting us enjoy this again. You have the size and the speed here. You know, the Marshawn Lattimore and Deion Sanders comparisons. I mean, he never has to come out of his back pedal there. He ran sideways with that kid halfway down the field, never actually having to turn and run. You know, I mean, some of these kids have such great back pedal. See how he's kind of side running there, side straddling, where they're running with these guys still facing the quarterback, still having a chance to make a play on the ball. They never really have to turn and run, put their back to the ball, play the ball with their hands. There's the first time he's in that man-to-man turn with his back to the ball. But, boy, he does a great job of opening up to the quarterback. Again, it takes a man turn there to help to play the ball. But with the range he has with his hands, it's just sticking a hand up in people's faces. He barely has to jump for it. But you don't see the long guys with that type of quickness and that type of hip flexion and stuff like that. And that's why we're talking about such a special player here. And I know his mom's watching and I'm gushing about him, but these are evaluations that I did before I knew his mom would ever watch this show.
My mom could be watching the show. We'd still be saying the same thing. By the way, she's dead.
I wouldn't be this nice about you if your mom was watching the show.
How dare you? How dare you?
Yeah. But really, this is a unique talent. And, you know, I talked to a trainer in Cleveland who works with, you know, receivers and DBs, and he's talking about how if you're smart, go play defense. That's where the money's at. You know, you're going to make more money as an elite corner in the NFL. So usually this type of body would be on offense, but we're starting to see these things show up on defense more. And, you know, I can't wait to see what this looks like at Ohio State and how they use them and how much Coach Knowles unleashes the press coverage and the man-to-man. It was a pretty vanilla scrimmage, not to get away from Devin there, but there were some blitzes and a few man-to-man looks where one of those corners I've noticed on one side's up in press, whether he's playing a hard flat or he's going to be in man. We're going to start to see you be able to disguise more things if you have guys like this that can pull off the man-to-man zone stuff.
One thing about Devin's tape that just jumped out to me there is very few false steps, and I think he's got the play diagnosed a lot of time before the snap. That when you have that combination of the fluidity and stuff, and he's one of the reasons he's looking at the quarterback is I think he knows what he's going to do. I love guys who kind of have that total package, kind of the mind and the body, and then just the genetic gifts. You know, we should thank the Sanchez's and their parents and the lineage there, because that's just like we talk about. Oh, the left tackle, and there's only so many guys in the portal. There are fewer 6'2" corners that could do that than almost any position on the field. The 6'2" corner has become, that's why I said Bigfoot. It's become something you say, and then you'll see people draft them, and then it's very difficult to play corner at that size. You're having to chase around 5'8" guys that can make the 4x1 team for the United States at times. That's a challenge.
Also, we talked about Beaufort and Gwinnett County. Devin Sanchez is playing in Houston, Texas.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And they're, to say the least, when you're talking about prep football talent, Texas is right up there with anybody. I spent my first year high school teaching and coaching in Houston. And even back then, 40 years ago, my goodness, the talent was tremendous, and it has gotten nothing but better and better. It's tremendous talent. And Devin Sanchez is playing against those. He's at a big school in Houston, and they go to the playoffs and all that. He's playing against the best.
No question. Very, very impressive. Will Star said Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was a high school wide receiver who ran like a 4.8 and went to Stanford. Turned out to be a great player. He's also not – I can't believe I'm saying – he played in a scheme. He wasn't necessarily your head-up man corner like I think
he was 6'4" also. He was
no way.
Really,
no way.
No?
No. Nobody's 6'4". No corner has played 6'4" consistently in the NFL. There was a guy from Kentucky that was on a team for a while, and there was a guy on Denver. I can't remember. But no. Sherman's about 6'2". Sherman is also really well known for a couple of reasons. He's a good player. He also ran his mouth unbelievably and drew a lot of attention. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on Devin, but there is no question Devin Sanchez is a better high school prospect. No way. Better high school prospect than Richard Sherman was.
Just saw Sherman listed at 6'3", so we'll split the difference.
There aren't many 6'3" corners. Search on it.
And that's why he was unusual.
And I'll pull his combine number up after the show because I'm a geek and I like to be right. And he ain't going to be 6'3". It's going to be it'll be 74 if you get his combine one. I'll get it. All right. Update on Brandon Caesar, Bill. There's a couple basic questions we get here. Brandon Caesar. I'm looking for my Marquise or Bo Jackson. Anything that we need to know about from the locals, Bill?
Brandon Caesar still he has an offer from Ohio State. He is a defensive end from Cleveland Heights. Look test, he definitely passes that. Mark, I think, would agree. He's about 6'4.5", 6'5", about 250. Looks lean at that size. Right now, I know West Virginia is a school he likes quite a bit. I think Kentucky's on his list. And, if Ohio State makes an all-out push for him, I still think Ohio State could end up being the winner there. But we've said this before. Ohio State right now has already got 2 defensive ends in the class, and they've also got Justin Hill out there for the jack position. They've got Marion Dye and Damian Shanklin among the guys making official visits. But they like Caesar too, so we'll see what happens there. What year did Sherman come out?
I was just trying to look that up for you also.
What draft was he in? Just tell me what draft he was in.
Boy, I don't see it here, but I got him at 6'3", 190, round 5, 2011 draft results. Round 5, pick 23.
Okay.
Says he's 6'3", 195 with a 9 3/4-inch hand and 32-inch arms. Not to get into Richard Sherman debates, but Brandon Caesar, I'll go that way. Hopefully this Sunday night, I might go to a workout where Marquise Davis, Brandon Caesar, the Cleveland Heights, Antonio Williams, and some other guys, Antonio Williams Jr., they have probably 5 or 6 Division I prospects on that team, so I'm going to go check out their workout. Hopefully next week we can bring you some video of these guys and kind of update the Cleveland Heights crew. I know the Marquise Davis, workout video will be anticipated by this group. I'd love to go see him run a 40 or a track meet and get that video for you guys, but we'll get something special on him.
Speaking of next week.
Hold on, Bill. Richard Sherman, 6'2.6", so you technically win. He ran a 4.54. Devin Sanchez will run faster than a 4.54. Go ahead, Bill.
Speaking of next week, Mark said he is going to be at that workout. We'll have things to talk about from Sunday night that he's at that workout. Sunday during the day, I will be in Upper Arlington, Ohio for the Elite 11 regionals, and we got some good quarterbacks there for the Elite 11 regionals. So we're going to have plenty of things to talk about come Tuesday of next week after Mark goes to that, and I'm at the Elite 11 Regionals, which we'll have Tavian St. Clair there. We'll have Nathan Bernard there, and we'll have RJ Day there from quite a contingent to keep an eye on. Among the other, there's going to be a lot of other outstanding quarterbacks there too, but got to mention those three.
You know, what's interesting about that is they do not allow coaches into some of these events. I don't know if this is one of them, but you can go in if your son is playing. And I remember Scooney Penn used to be in there with Dom Penn, and he didn't spend a lot of time talking to Dom Penn. Let's just put it that way. He was in there recruiting for whoever he was doing. And if you see the number of, I'm telling you, if you go to a major AAU tournament now, or even a really good one, you will see 10 to 15 professional athletes in there because of their children. If you get to go to a tournament where it has guys and girls there, then you'll see 25 guys. Marcus Spears' daughter I saw battling up in the post, so it was good stuff. We're going to finish with the question that I was just posted up here, which is not really news, but I guess it is. It came down yesterday, and you guys can both answer. What do you guys think of the NCAA allowing unlimited transfers? Mark, you can go first, and Bill, you get the last word.
Recruiting your own roster has now become imperative. You know, making sure that after spring ball, you have a meeting with every guy and understand that you need to make sure that they have a reason to stay, because with unlimited transfers, this is worse than NFL free agency. It's not even like you can lock a guy into a 2-3 year contract. I wonder if you could write an NIL contract that way, where you're guaranteed to stay at this school for so many years based on this pay. It's advantage player. The rules lately have all been advantage player. I tell you what, and coaches have already told me this, you're coaching a different way. You're coaching on eggshells with these guys, knowing that anything you say or anything that they don't like could cause them to leave. And with the investment you put into these players, that's the last thing you want. In the days of the fire and brimstone coaches, where you'd say, hey, you wait your turn and you sit behind these guys for a couple of years. You can't coach like that anymore. And to win, you want to have an older roster. You want to have juniors and seniors. And to keep those guys around, recruiting your roster is going to be as important as recruiting the kids. And I think you're going to have to recruit a certain style of kid that's, going to commit to you for 3 or 4 years and not just leave the first time they don't get to play in a game. But it's going to be tough with that for the coaches.
I'll tell you what, and Billy, let you finish this off. I still think Ohio State's in a great spot. At the end of this year, I'll take a look at this again. But of the guys that contribute, so say your top 40, I'll bet Ohio State is close. Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama will be close to the top of guys contributing that they recruited, even though we've done so well in the portal. That's how you'll be able to tell who recruits the best. Go ahead, Bill. Finish it off for us.
My first thought is, you mean to tell me we didn't already have unlimited transfers?
Yeah, seriously.
It seems like it when you see guys transferring 2, 3, whatever amount of times. It seems like guys are flying all over the place, and they've been doing so for several years. But I jest on that, maybe a little bit, but it does almost seem like that. It's just the way of the world now, and it's part of the reason I think that the NFL is so attractive to college coaches. They don't have to deal with that, and retirement can be so attractive to college coaches, a la Nick Saban. This stuff is really hard to deal with, and I know they're getting paid tremendous amounts of money, but it is a tough job with a tremendous amount of pressure. If you are at Ohio State or Alabama or wherever, it's just a whole new rung of difficulty.
You want to say something, Mark? Are you going to hop in there?
No, I'm good.
I agree with you, Bill. I think what we're going to see is this generation, I use that term really loosely, of coaches will eventually just kind of move on. They weren't raised to coach this way. It's 52 pickup every single year now to some extent. I don't know how else to say it better than that. You can't as coaches sit there and they dream about how we're going to use this guy and we'll develop him to do this, and in 2 years he'll do that. You just can't look that far in the future anymore. You gotta worry about the day in front of you and the year in front of you. And I don't think let's put it this way, some coaches won't enjoy that anywhere nearly as much as they enjoy now, because I think the development of the players and the relationships ends up being the number one thing people cherish, besides their paycheck, obviously. I'll say this. Any way you change it, though, it's proven to me now, Ohio State's going to do just fine. Whatever changes they make, you can assume Ohio State will be at the front of the line, and that's why we are invading Georgia, and that is the theme of this show, and we appreciate it. These guys will be back next Tuesday. I know you people can't get enough of me and Bill. We will not be back tomorrow. Have a good one, Bucknutters.